Eala bids Auckland goodbye. Eala barely missed out on her first WTA Finals appearance this season, absorbing a tough 7-5, 5-7, 4-6 marathon defeat against China's Wang Xinyu in the WTA 250 ASB Classic Singles Final 4 yesterday at the ASB Tennis Centre in Auckland, New Zealand. Eala, the number 4 seed, displayed resilience in the first set with a stunning comeback from a 0-4 deficit but ran out of steam against the 7-seeded Chinese in the next 2 for a gutsy loss in almost 3 hours. It's the third WTA semis stint for the 20-year-old Eala in her young career but could have made it to her third finals, too, if not for a costly meltdown in the second set. Eala, WTA number 53, replicated her comeback in the opener and launched a 4-0 run capped by breaking Xinyu's serve in the 8th game to turn a 1-3 deficit to a sudden 5-3 upper hand, 1 game away from a sweep. But Xinyu, WTA number 57, gave Eala a dose of her own medicine with a 4-0 closeout behind 6 aces to steal the set, 7-5, and force a rubber. Eala, who also reached the semis in the doubles play, felt the exhaustion from there on after 2 extended sets as she stared to an early 0-3 deficit that spelled the difference in the back-and-forth duel. Trailing 2-5, Eala staged one last uprising with 2 straight wins to strike within 4-5 but to no avail as Xinyu earned the win to arrange a titular showdown against either number 1 seed Elina Svitolina, WTA number 13, of Ukraine or number 3 seed Iva Jovic, WTA number 35, of the United States. It was a crazy battle from the start to the end. Alex is an absolute fighter for sure. To be honest, I felt more pressure when I'm up 5-0 than we're at love 0-0. I'm really happy to be through to the finals, said Xinyu. Still, it was a commendable run for Eala, who is expected to reach a new career best in next week's update of the WTA rankings. According to live tracking, Eala is already at number 48 with 83 additional points to jack up her season points to 1159, up 5 spots to start 2026 with flying colors. Up next for Eala is the Kooyong Classic on January 13th to 15th in Melbourne, and then the Australian Open starting on January 18th. Eala stood on the edge of the ferry terminal, the salty wind tugging at her hair, and looked out over the Waitemata Harbour. The sun was dipping low, casting golden streaks across the water, making the city shimmer like it was stitched from threads of molten light. It was her last evening in Auckland, and though she had told herself she was ready to leave, a hollow ache had settled deep in her chest. She remembered the first time she had arrived here, fresh off a flight that had seemed impossibly long, her suitcase battered from travel, and her heart beating with nervous excitement. Auckland had felt like a promise then, tall buildings stretching toward the sky, cafes humming with quiet energy, the pulse of life that made even strangers feel like neighbors. The city had been a mosaic of firsts: first coffee at a hidden laneway cafe, first walk along the vibrant streets of Ponsonby, first bus ride when she got hopelessly lost and ended up laughing with a stranger who helped her find her way. Now, standing there with her bag by her feet and the cries of seagulls overhead, Eala felt the city in reverse, like memories replaying, each one sharpened by the knowledge that it was ending. She had grown here in ways she hadn't expected. The city had taught her independence in moments of quiet loneliness, patience when rain soaked her plans, and courage when she had to speak up in ways that scared her. Auckland had been a teacher, a friend, and sometimes a silent witness to her mistakes and triumphs alike. Eala's gaze wandered to the skyline. The sky tower pierced the clouds like a silver needle, the lights beginning to blink as twilight deepened. It had watched over her through nights of celebration and nights of tears. She remembered standing beneath it one chilly evening, sharing a pizza with friends she had made in a language that wasn't her own at first, and feeling, for the first time, that she belonged somewhere entirely new. The city had cradled her, even when she had been uncertain of her own place. The harbor was quiet now, only the occasional ferry slicing through the water, leaving a frothy trail behind. She remembered taking the ferry to Devonport on a whim, the wind whipping her hair into wild tangles, the laughter of other passengers blending with the cries of gulls. That day had felt like freedom, the kind of freedom that comes when you realize the world is bigger than your fear, that life can be both unpredictable and tender. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the reverie. It was a message from her closest friend here, "Don't forget to look back one last time." Eala smiled softly. She had already taken mental snapshots, etching corners of the city into memory: the old library on Queen Street with its creaking floors, the mural in Crode that seemed to change every time she looked at it, the tiny bakery where the baker remembered her name after just a month. She knelt for a moment, picking up a smooth stone from the dock, its surface polished by tides and time. Holding it, she felt a strange sense of continuity. Eala thought about all the departures she had witnessed, the stories of people leaving and the small acts of closure that marked their farewells. This stone would be hers, a quiet reminder of the city that had shaped her. She slipped it into her pocket. Walking slowly toward the ferry, Eala passed by people who seemed so absorbed in their routines: businesspeople striding with purpose, tourists snapping photos, children laughing as they chased each other along the pier. She realized then that she was not leaving the city behind, not entirely. Auckland would continue, bustling and restless, indifferent yet somehow intimate, carrying within it the whispers of her presence. She would always find pieces of herself in its streets and waters, even if her body was no longer here. As the ferry's horn signaled its imminent departure, Eala turned once more toward the skyline. She imagined herself as a silhouette framed against the fading light, her hair lifted by the wind, the city stretching infinitely behind her. She whispered a quiet goodbye, not just to buildings or streets, but to experiences, to moments that had made her laugh, cry, and dream. Goodbye, she thought, to the person she had been when she first arrived, and thank you to the person she had become because of it. The ferry doors closed behind her, the hum of engines vibrating through the floor. As they glided out of the harbor, Eala pressed her hands against the glass and watched the city recede, lights twinkling like fireflies. She felt a bittersweet tangle of sorrow and anticipation, a sensation she recognized from every ending she had ever known. Yet beneath it all, there was hope, hope that the lessons and memories she carried would guide her in the new place awaiting her. The wind, now carrying the scent of the sea, wrapped around her like a farewell embrace. She felt the salt on her lips, the chill on her cheeks, and the vastness of the world opening up ahead. Auckland was behind her, but not gone. It had given her a chapter, and now it was time to start another. Eala leaned back against the railing, letting the motion of the ferry soothe the ache in her chest. She realized something profound: goodbyes were not about endings alone, they were about